Checking all the channels here. And we are live in the city of Baldwin Park. Hello, everyone. This is the Bite Back Tour, and we're with the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. My name is Levy's son, and I'm going to go around real quick so folks here can introduce themselves. Go ahead, Carol Ann.
I am the education specialist, one of them.
And we have Allie.
Hi everyone, I'm Ali Gaspar, the outreach assistant at the district, and I'm currently in front of Baldwin Park train station.
You're reporting live for Baldwin Park. All right. And then Pablo, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Pablo and I'm the communication specialist here at the district.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. So let's open it up to just some basic news that a lot of you have heard about. One thing is West Nile virus. It is considered pervasive throughout San Gabriel Valley. In fact, we have confirmed West Nile virus in Baldwin Park. So what to do? Well, stay tuned with us for the next 30 minutes and we'll tell you exactly what you need to do to stay bite free and stay safe from the mosquitoes that may carry West Nile virus. A common question we get around this time is, are you going to spray? Are you going to do any area-wide treatments? Currently, the answer is no, for various reasons. The most important one is that area-wide treatments for these adult mosquitoes that may be carrying West Nile virus is considered a last resort. We reserve the use of pesticide only in the case of public health emergencies. And when it comes to West Nile virus, it is all about taking personal preventative action around your home and whenever you are outdoors. Pablo just shared there the transmission path of West Nile virus. Usually the virus stays between the birds and mosquitoes, but occasionally the way we've urbanized where we lived, birds are not always around. So there's always us. So that's how we would get West Nile virus from these mosquitoes that would bite an infected bird and carry that virus to us when they bite. Now, some questions that will pop up includes, well, I know how to get rid of the stagnant water, but what repellent is best to use? Stay tuned till the end, you'll get your answer. Victor C from Baldwin Park, who asked us on Twitter, what is the most effective way to rid your home of mosquitoes? I have tried clearing standing water and any signs of water, but they still seem to survive. Stay tuned. We'll continue to answer that questions more in depth as we go through this Bite Back tour. But first, I want you to get to know who we are as an agency. First up, we want to talk more about surveillance, what they have to offer in terms of data to help guide us where to go. Pablo, I know you have some slides and maybe some insight maybe you can talk about regarding surveillance and what they do.
Yeah, definitely. Like Levy was mentioning, surveillance are very much our essentially data collectors. What you see in these photos is really much a screenshot of what they do, but there's so much more that they're doing. And one of the biggest things that they do is they set up traps, as you see here. And those traps are designed to catch mosquitoes that are going to be laying or ready to lay eggs. And they catch those mosquitoes, and that's super important for us to know as a district because they then bring those mosquitoes back. And as you see here in the next photo in the lab, they're looking at the mosquito species on what species are here in our district, and majority are Culex mosquitoes, which are common mosquitoes here in Southern California, and those are the most common vectors when it comes to West Nile virus. So why is that important for us to know about those mosquitoes? Is because after we collect those mosquitoes, we then send them to a lab to get tested if they are carrying West Nile virus. And that's how we know if West Nile virus is present in our area. One thing that I know we always like to emphasize is people hear West Nile virus and instantly freak out. And while it is something to be always concerned about, we always like to emphasize that West Nile virus is endemic to the state of California, meaning it never goes away. It's always present. It's just a matter of when it gets into the human population is when we should be more concerned, or when they're when our mosquitoes in our area are carrying the virus is when we need to be concerned. And that's why we emphasize source reduction and making sure that we're using mosquito repellent. Right now, we're definitely nearing the end of the higher population of mosquitoes, but still being very cautious and using mosquito repellent. I know I'm always aware every time I know I'm gonna be outside, I put on my mosquito repellent before I do anything. And that's something we also like to emphasize is don't wait until mosquitoes start biting you. The point is to prevent the bite. So putting on the repellent before you're outside. But again, that's basically kind of a screenshot of what our surveillance department does, monitoring the diseases in our area and what mosquito species are in our area.
I want to add there, Pablo, that the lot of questions, some people may think that we're trapping mosquitoes out of the environment with these traps that we use, and that is unfortunately false. We wish our traps can lure in all the mosquitoes in the city and trap them out. But like Pablo mentioned, this is a snapshot of how things are. So we still need to do our part. So surveillance, they're the main ones that funnel in the data. From there, the data goes to different departments, including operations and communications. So I'm going to talk a little bit about operations, and they are the ones you see the most often around Baldwin Park. They're the ones that you see monitoring the public sources. So this includes gutters, ponds, any kind of water features on public property. But they're also the ones that can conduct any service requests based on tips submitted to us. And that could include monitoring any swimming pools. And in addition to that, as that is not enough, they are also monitoring the underground storm drains. This is what Pablo is showing here, or was showing there on the screen. You're too fast for me, Pablo. So many of you think, well, in the wintertime, where do mosquitoes go? Do they just die off? Do they fly south? Where do they go? Well, unfortunately, they go beneath our feet into the underground storm drain system. The system itself is supposed to move all water out towards the ocean, but unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. So we have pockets of stagnant water underground. And because the underground storm drain system is a nice, cozy, warm, humid environment year round, even in the dead of winter, we can find them down there, which is why we have a dedicated team that works year round, monitoring and controlling these mosquitoes in the underground storm drain systems. So gone are the days when mosquito season is truly 3 months. It is mosquito year round. So from there, probably kind of flashed a bit previously with the swimming pools. So some of you in Baldwin Park may have received some notices from us saying, could you please verify to make sure your pool is functioning and clean? And luckily, thankfully, a lot of you have responded with a picture of your clean and functional pools. For those of you who haven't, please work with us. We want to make sure that your swimming pool doesn't become a mosquito factory. A filled green pool, it can produce up to 3 million mosquitoes a month. That's a lot of bites in your neighborhood, and we don't want that to happen. Moving on to another department here, but before we head to communications, just want to remind everyone, this is the Bite Back Tour in the city of Baldwin Park. If you're watching, you're probably watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or on our website. At any time, feel free to drop in a comment with a question, and we'll be sure to answer them as we go. I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Pablo now to talk a little bit more about communications, because at the end of the day, we are part of the problem and we are part of the solution. And the best way we can move more of us towards the solution is education. So Pablo, can you tell us a little bit about how we educate the public about mosquitoes?
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully residents in Baldwin Park have seen us at some events, of course, pandemic times, but we hope to be back in city events that will be coming up soon in Baldwin Park. But that is another major part of what we do here at the district, and that's communications, being out with residents and in the public and making sure that people are aware of the services that we provide. Super important for people to know. We have so many people always come up to our booth or our table saying they had no idea that we existed, or that we are free of charge, or what they can do in their community when it comes to mosquito prevention. And a lot of what we do is, like Libby mentioned, education, showing people the right types of mosquito repellent, areas where mosquitoes are most commonly found, and also showing, which I will be able to show here as well, showing what mosquito larvae look like and the life cycle of mosquitoes. As you see on the screen here, they're swimming around, and those are mosquito larvae right there. And the one right next to it is a mosquito pupa. These are the stages in mosquitoes of the mosquito life cycle before they emerge as a flying adult. And this is basically almost a virtual example of what we show at our tables, because we're all very familiar with the mosquitoes that are flying around biting us, but people sometimes aren't very familiar with the larval stages. So we're out in the community sharing this information, giving people information, and we're very excited to be able to provide information in multiple languages. Our booklets is all available to the public, and we're emphasizing the different programs we have with our education program, which we'll talk about in a little bit, as well as our Bite Back program as well, which we'll also mention later. But
I'm going to jump in right now.
Go ahead.
I'm going to jump in right now real quick and say, got a shout out from Streamline. They're the ones that host a lot of the special districts websites, including ours. And they said, how are you all so awesome, as a question? Well, thank you so much, Streamline, for tuning in. We appreciate the feedback. And hopefully you're learning as much as the residents of Baldwin Park are regarding mosquitoes. So Pablo, I have a question about the larvae that we're seeing here versus that thing that looks like a shrimp. Could you explain to me the difference between that worm-like thing and that shrimp-like thing?
Yes, definitely. So the worm-looking thing is the mosquito larva. As you see here, they're swimming around here. And when a mosquito lays its eggs, with Culex mosquitoes, they're little egg rafts. They're very, very tiny little things floating on the water. And then with Aedes mosquitoes, the small black and white mosquitoes, they're laid individually on the rim of water. After that life stage, they will emerge into these worm-looking things where they kind of hang around at the top of the water, and you can usually spot them by moving the water around or just hovering shade over the water, and you see them moving around. People commonly mistake them for tadpoles. These are not tadpoles. So if you see these swimming in water, you definitely want to dump out that stagnant water, and it will easily kill them off. I always like to say it's so much easier to kill off 50 mosquito larvae swimming in water versus trying to kill 50 flying adult mosquitoes. So after the larval stage, they turn into this shrimp-looking thing here. And those are also not tiny little shrimp. I'm pretty sure nobody would want to eat these guys. But these are
Dragonfly would.
A dragonfly definitely would.
Yeah.
These are mosquito pupa, and then this is the final stage in their life cycle before they emerge into the flying adults that we're all familiar with. And in one case, biologically, it is very fascinating on how they change and morph themselves in their different life cycles and what they eat and how they morph into the adults that we're more familiar with. But again, these are their aquatic stages. So that's why they need stagnant water in order to survive and ultimately become the flying adults that we try to prevent. So it's important to be familiar with that life stage and also eliminate that life stage, because once we cut that off, we won't get any flying adults.
So you're telling me, Pablo, don't make ceviche out of the pupa.
Exactly. You'll need millions of larvae to make ceviche, but I don't think it'll be as good as the kind that we prefer to eat.
All right, I'll go ahead and pass. As you can tell, I'm getting a little hungry here. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the other parts of communication, because we educate a lot of adults, a lot of community leaders, but we can't forget about the little ones, our students, K through 12, and sometimes even college. Caroline, how do you take this wealth of knowledge and pack it into a curriculum and teach kids how to be more bite-free?
Well, it depends, of course, on the age. And so we present age appropriate information, and we also gear it towards whatever standards, depending on the grade. So we're all next generation standards, science standards aligned. And we just pick the most fascinating parts of, information about mosquitoes into those messages. And then we took the time during the pandemic to come up with some new projects. So we put a lot of our stuff online. So if your particular school is still not allowing visitors, we have a tremendous amount of information and all of our classroom programs as virtual presentations, and we can still do live virtual presentations as well if there are still some barriers for people coming into the classroom. One of those I'd like to tease today. It's going to be coming out possibly next week, and it is a new interactive video that we're very excited about. And it is geared towards grades of 4 through 12, but I think even the younger kids would enjoy watching it. It's not that long, but it does allow them to click and get some detailed information in a really neat and beautifully illustrated video. So watch for that announcement, and you will be able to access it on www.journeyofthegerm.org. So stay tuned for that. We are currently getting ready for our citizen science program. So Baldwin Park teachers, if you are still looking for programs that will get your kids outside and doing hands-on science, we've got Operation Mosquito Grid and VIP, but the deadline is coming up real fast. I think for Grid, the deadline for teachers to sign up is tomorrow. So definitely get on our vectoreducation.org website and look for our citizen science program. That's what we're going to be doing this early fall, and then we'll be switching over to our classroom programs after that.
Oh, Carol Ann, I have a quick question. If I'm a teacher, I know teachers have had quite the year, and on top of that, teachers are always so busy, pouring so much time and effort into their classrooms. If I'm going to look at this like, oh, is this going to be another huge thing for me to tack on to my class? How much work does it require for a teacher to do to bring you guys into the classroom?
Well, we're always aware of how busy teachers are, and so our aim is to make things as easy on our teachers as possible. So our citizen science and our classroom programs are very user-friendly for teachers. Basically, they just get their classroom signed up, and then we have everything automated for the Operation Mosquito Grid, and all the emails go out, and we get parent permissions, and the teachers basically just can sit back and enjoy. So we're always very aware of how busy teachers are, and so we try and make all of our programs as user-friendly, as interesting and engaging, and easy to use as possible.
Thank you so much, Carol Ann. Now, the moment Victor, I know, has been waiting for regarding how to get rid of getting rid of mosquitoes from your home, not getting rid of your home from mosquitoes. That's a very drastic measure you're taking if you need to get rid of your home because of mosquitoes. Although I feel like some
we're
of
not
our
there
residents,
yet.
yeah, I feel like some of our residents are pretty much there. But how do you get rid of mosquitoes from your home? And then let's talk a little bit about management of mosquitoes and everything related to that. Now, we all know about getting rid of stagnant water weekly. As Pablo mentioned, the life cycle of the mosquito, for the most part, is in the water, in the aquatic stages. So once you get rid of the water, you get rid of the mosquito. However, that isn't the case all around. But there might be some sources that are lurking around your yard or your patio that you may miss quite easily. It used to be people would look for swimming pools, large buckets of water, you name it. But now it's time to look for some cryptic sources because some of these mosquitoes are really good at laying their eggs in small amounts of water. I believe, Ali, you might have something to show regarding that.
Hey, Levy, I do actually. Let me just flip my screen real quick. So these are just some sources that you can find on your properties, and these are the ones that you really want to manage because water can collect in all of these tiny little places. Whether they're from plant saucers or your pet bowls, you want to make sure that you're changing out the water constantly if you're watering, or just flipping it over and putting it away in a place where it's not going to collect water. And then even sometimes the plants that we have can actually attract mosquitoes because of the way it's formed. For example, bromeliads tend to form little cups of where the water can collect here, as you can see. And then lucky bamboo, it's just rooted in water, which of course, if left out for too long or not changed out, will definitely collect water. And things that are just stacked in containers and clusters, we all have them. So we have to make sure that we're constantly cleaning and putting them away where they're not going to get wet and where water cannot collect. Another interesting thing too that a lot of residents ask us about are our rain barrels. Rain barrels need to be properly maintained, meaning that they have to have proper netting, and as well as that all of the little spouts are sealed, including the one down here. So just make sure that if you have a rain barrel that you're constantly maintaining it, that way mosquitoes do not get in there. And to make sure that you're also using the water and not just storing it. So once you collect the water, make sure that you're using it as well. And these are just some of the sources that might be in your yards that need proper maintenance. And you usually want to do that about once each week.
Now I have to ask you then, what if I, just like Victor, who asked us on Twitter, I got rid of all the stagnant water. Are there any other reasons why I might still be seeing mosquitoes around my home?
Yeah, so another reason might be dense vegetation. Maybe our yards are just full of a bunch of harborage where mosquitoes can stay there. So things like ivy, dense bushes, even just like a lot of like little clusters of thick green leaves. The mosquitoes actually like to rest there because they like to hide from the sun. And so they like the shade, and then they can come out whenever we're outside and bite us. So not necessarily, you might not always have water on your property and you might not be breeding mosquitoes, but you're actually hiding mosquitoes if a neighbor somewhere nearby has some stagnant water around. So you want to make sure that you're always cutting and trimming the dense vegetation, or possibly even just replacing it with plants, maybe like California native plants, which are not only native to California, but they also require a lot less water, which means that mosquitoes are not going to be attracted to that, and also they don't provide that those leaves and then that coverage that normal dense vegetation would. So that's what we recommend.
Thank you for that, because I know one of the biggest missing component of mosquito control is the management of vegetation. So if your yard or patio or balcony looks like Jurassic Park or a jungle, where you feel like you can take out your machete and beat your way to your front door, that's probably a reason why there are mosquitoes flying around. So I totally agree with Ali on this, on the use of California native plants. Depending also on the species you get, it could be considered fireproofing your yard, because you create a nice barrier between your home structure and where the fire may burn up to, and it may limit the spread of the fire encroaching on your property. And you don't have to worry so much about that in Baldwin Park, luckily, but there are just so many beneficial aspects to a California native yard, including, and I think most people can agree with this, increasing the biodiversity of the insects around your home. A lot of us think, well, I just want to have butterflies, more native insects around here, but they end up planting non-native plants, which may not necessarily attract those types of insects they want. So Pablo just shared a screen here that shows examples of California native landscaping that could be used around your home. So some resources out there includes the Theodore Payne Foundation, it includes the Claremont Botanical Gardens, And even just a search online for California native plant resources in California will point you in the right direction.
And Levy,
Lee-
to add to, oh, go ahead, Caroline.
Oh, I was going to say, I just, one thing that I wanted to add to the whole idea of harborage and dumping water out and still seeing adult mosquitoes is to remind people that adult mosquitoes do persist for 3 weeks, sometimes 4, depending on the weather. So be patient. Once you've got your water dumped out, you will continue to see adults. So it's important to wear your repellent while you wait for those adults to die off or move on.
That's a very good point. Something that we need to be mindful of. One other thing I do want to touch on, because I have seen many Baldwin Park residents use or ask about this, and that's bug zappers. The ones you buy off the shelves that may have UV light in them. Do they work? Unfortunately, not as much as we would like. Many studies, including one that we've conducted ourselves here, show that these bug zappers end up killing more beneficial insects than mosquitoes. In fact, 99% of the insects caught or zapped are beneficial insects, and maybe 1% you get mosquitoes in there. And unfortunately, the mosquitoes you get in there aren't the ones that have been called ankle biters or Aedes mosquitoes. We get a lot more of the native mosquitoes here. So if you're looking at your bug zapper and wondering why doesn't it work, well, because it doesn't actually attract mosquitoes as much as you think it would. In fact, mosquitoes are more drawn to the CO2 from our breath coming out, and also our body heat when they get near. So unless you can replicate that in the trap, it's very difficult to trap your way out of mosquitoes. And it actually brings me to something else. And Caroline, I'm glad you mentioned it, because mosquitoes are always going to be around us in Baldwin Park. And in any urban environment, there's going to be some level of mosquitoes, which means at the end of the day, it's all about repellent use, making sure you repel them by applying repellent, mosquito repellent. Ali, I believe you may have some information regarding that. So what repellent should people look for, and how do they even use it properly?
Thanks, Levy. I do have information on that. So people should always be looking for the 4 main ingredients recommended by the CDC. And they are oil of lemon eucalyptus, DEET, picaridin, and IR 3535. As long as that active ingredient is inside your mosquito repellent, you should be good to go. And I just actually want to show you guys where you can find that active ingredient when you're actually going out to shop for a mosquito repellent. So it'll tell you on the front label, it'll give you the percentage. And basically the percentage number of that ingredient is just going to let you know how long it's going to last altogether. If you're just going to be around running errands, maybe for an hour, you're going to want a lower percentage rate that we don't have to apply so much. And then if you're going to be out, hiking or at a party, an outdoor party, you're going to want a higher percentage of that ingredient. That way you don't have to apply so much. And then to follow and apply onto your skin, you want to make sure that you're following the directions label in the back. And the way you want to apply, you just want to evenly spread it around all exposed skin. So if my arm is exposed right now, you want to make sure that it gets onto everything, including the top of your hands. And then you want to do that for little kids as well. Now, for little kids, it's always important to check with their pediatrician. Make sure that you either bring them the repellent bottle so that they can take a look at it, or you can find more information on our website where you can print out those active ingredients, and then you can share that with them as well. And when applying to your face, as well as little minors' faces, you just want to make sure that you're spraying it into your hands as an adult and then applying it wherever needed. Definitely want to make sure if the kids get repellent on their hands, that they're washing their hands. Everything goes into the mouth. So you want to make sure that they don't do that. And that's pretty much all you need to know.
So I'm not spraying it directly to my face.
Correct. You do not want to do that. You want to apply to your hands first as the adult, and then apply it onto your neck and your face and anything else that's exposed as well. And another question actually that we get when it comes to shopping for repellent is people don't really know where to buy it. I totally understand. You can buy it at all of the bigger stores, that tends to be like the place where you go to get everything. But also any aisle that has a gardening aisle or an outdoors aisle will tend to have that. And you just want to make sure that you stock up on the right one. And that's pretty much it.
So to be clear, you could spray your face directly, but you're going to have a bad time.
You're going to have a really bad time, and you're going to have
Okay.
some pains and some stings, and not going to be good. You'll have more issues than just mosquitoes.
Now, I have another question. So let's say I've done everything I can around my own property, but I want to spread awareness to my neighbors. Is there anything that I can do as a resident of Baldwin Park?
That's a great question. Yes, there is actually one very easy thing that you can do. And honestly, it's just to sign up to be a Bite Back Champion, which is a part of one of our programs where we work with residents at the grassroots level to really just tackle mosquito problems on your street. The big thing that we always say is you want to make sure that you're spreading awareness. So this is your way of really just kind of bringing awareness to yourself and your household, but also you can pick one of 3 different ways, like 3 different avenues to, tackle mosquitoes on your neighborhood. Whether you're just signing up for emails and receiving information, some tips and tricks on how to eliminate mosquitoes, or whether you can get door hangers from us that are very informational. They're in English and in Spanish. And I think recently we got one in English and Chinese, so that we can go ahead and, you can send it to you can pass it out to your neighbors, and then you can spread the word that way. Or we can work together to, host a in-person or online mosquito 101 orientation, as well as do some block the bite property inspections in your neighborhood.
All right, thank you so much, Ali. So I'm hoping I can see more champions coming out of Baldwin Park. This does round out our Bite Back tour in the city of Baldwin Park. We're going to head over to some closing remarks. So let's kick it off to Carol Ann. Any closing remarks?
Well, take advantage of our free education programs and check out our websites. Again, journeyofthegerm.org is going to have our new interactive video, which your students should really enjoy. And then, of course, vectoreducation.org.
Okay, Pablo.
Almost forgot, it's Labor Day weekend, a long weekend for most of us, enjoying Monday off, and whether we have travel plans or a nice weekend somewhere else, don't forget your mosquito repellent. Always make that a part of your essential toiletries to take with you. Be the public health advocate in your family, the one to go to for any mosquito repellent. So a simple thing that we do is tip out any stagnant water, hopefully before you leave, or have people in your yard. Store all those items in dry areas or just get rid of them, and make sure you have your mosquito repellent handy if you're going to be outside enjoying the outdoors.
Okay, Ali.
There you go. Sorry, struggling with the mute. Hi, everyone. Just want to remind everyone to wear repellent when they're outside, as Pablo said. But also, since it will be Labor Day weekend, you can actually check out vectoreducation.org. And under Little Champion, you can print out your very own Mosquito Loteria game. That way you can have fun with the whole family or whatever you have planned this weekend. We recently took it out to our La Fuente event last Saturday, and it was an absolute hit. So I highly recommend, if you wanna have fun with your family this weekend or have the kids learn something, definitely check out that game, Mosquito Loteria.
All right, I have one minor thing that sign off on. Hendrix, who's one of our operations specialists, he actually is tuning in right now on YouTube, and want to just make sure everyone is aware that that even though you may be bit at one location, you might, or you think you may be bit at one location, always trace back to where you were previously, because you can be bit anywhere, whether it's at work, home, school, etc. The key thing is to always be vigilant about the sources around you, and to tip and toss any stagnant water. We're out there looking at the public sources, monitoring for any issues. We're monitoring and controlling for any mosquito-borne diseases, not only in Baldwin Park, but in 25 other cities in San Gabriel Valley. So we need your help. This is a shared responsibility of mosquito control. And for Baldwin Park, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay healthy and stay bite-free, everyone. We'll talk to you.